They're incredible financial planners for specializing in disability programs. So I'd like to introduce Nicole and Bob Vaughn. They have been a tremendous help for our organization for many, many years now. And they have some tremendous information to share with us. So I'm now just going to hand it over to Bob.
Thank you. Yeah, do we need to do this? Hello?
Well, you can use that one.
Hi, everybody. Listen, today's been great. And I want to thank Peter and crew for all the efforts of bringing three very different aspects into today's agenda. Dr. Bruno was like totally informative and bringing us up to speed and information I have never heard before. And Madison, she was really good at bringing the programs together that are available to us for servicing the needs of the MS community. And so Nicole and I, our game plan here, our purpose is to take all those other knowledges that you're gaining and add to them how to implement and what you do to make these things happen. We have, we in the MS community, I have MS, have common opponents to other situations, mental health areas, brain injuries, muscular dystrophy, MS, of course, and many, many other aspects, autism. We've been doing this for a lot of years now, and we've in the last 35 years of my work career in finances, we've specialized in 15 or so, specifically on families that are affected by disability. There's so many financial aspects of things that can be done to improve the lives on a financial aspect. The doctor, of course, will talk the medical part, and Madison has shown us the different vehicles that are available to the community. But all of the different families that are affected by disability that we deal with have a common issue, and that is there's an additional financial burden. So you need to take advantage of the products and the services and the disciplines that are available to you to supplement that burden in whatever financial ways that you can. So our purpose today, at least, is to educate you on some of the things that can be done. The game plan ultimately would be, we are quite willing to meet at no cost to anybody here to go over individually your specific situation and see if we can enhance your financial position. So in the PowerPoint presentation that you're using, I just want to give you a sort of a quick overview. The idea of putting together a financial plan has two initial components. One is to create savings or wealth, okay, and find different vehicles to do that, and each one has their own importance. And two is to offset any kind of risks that you have as a family, so we use components to do that as well. Now, when we're doing financial planning work, there's two aspects of planning. One is the accumulation phase, that is where you're working, or you have money and you're generating some kind of a vehicle to increase your accumulation of finances or wealth. But then we hit a certain point where we're not working anymore, and then it hits another, financially speaking, another phase called the decumulation phase, that you start living off of that money, and that becomes really important because you better have saved up enough money or have enough resources to generate the income that you need to maintain yourself and sustain yourself in retirement. So you have to look for solutions. You have to look for tools that you can use to offset any undue risks. Yeah, and the structure basically is to surround yourself with people and knowledge, like we are here today, not medical knowledge, social services knowledge. There's a lot of, as you've seen from Madison's presentation, there's a lot of government services that are available. Some of them are more awkward than others to deal with. But bottom line is there's stuff there. Okay, so our job is to take those types of services and knowledges and add to it products and services that can be used to help you get to your financial objectives. We take a look at now we don't do the legal aspects, but you have to take a look at the legal aspects, wills, power of attorneys, that type of thing. You take a look at investments and savings, vehicles that you can use and why you use one over the other. And also in terms of insurances, there's multiple types of insurances, and using the right type of insurance for your situation is quite important. So we start the process by trying to figure out where you want to go. What are your goals? How do you and once you start looking down that path, and that's something that we help our clients with. They don't quite often know where they want to go. So we ask the right questions. So figure out where you want to go and what you want to achieve and how long you have to do it. Make a game plan, but probably most important there is not just making the game plan, it's actually doing something about it, implementing it, doing some kind of a product or service or game plan implementation that because if you don't, you don't get where you want to go because you've done nothing except make a game plan. In a bigger picture, we take a look at key components. One is time. How long do you have to accumulate that wealth? Okay. And the other side of the coin, how much time do you guesstimate you have to have for purposes of decumulation? How long are you going to have your money last for you? Okay. The other one,
I'm sorry.
yeah. The other one is the return on the money. That what kind of return do you have to get on that money to take you to that financial objective? Okay. And what kind of risks are involved in getting that far? And then thirdly is the money aspect. How much money do you end up having available to you to accumulate towards that financial goal?
Yeah.
Okay, so to give you an example of some of the general concepts that you need to be aware of, and we're not going to get into a lot of detail on these at this point, but one is called the Rule of 72. I'm going to explain that one in a minute, just for example purposes. Compounding interest, how much money can grow by what percentage and how you do that. Dollar cost averaging was a systematic contribution of money on a monthly basis or a regular basis so that you do accumulate. It becomes a part of your daily living and lifestyle. Okay. Investing risk profile, that is, how much what do you have in terms of tolerance to get in terms of your do you roll the dice with your money or you put it in the mattress, two extremes. Tax treatment, different investments, different products have different tax treatments. One's taxed that you're fully taxed, one's partially taxed, one's reduced tax dramatically. Okay. The inflation, a big issue. Okay. People today, a little side story. When I was a kid, and that's a lot of years ago, we used to go down to Broadview and Queen, my parents and I, and my siblings, and we buy a rack of bread, and that bread was like 10 cents a loaf back then. Okay, so today it's not 10 cents a loaf. It's $2, $3, $4, $5, $6 a loaf, depending on what you're buying. That's inflation. That's the cost of a living. My car, I can't buy I can't buy a car today, no, the tires today on my SUV cost what my first car bought was, inflation. So that's a big issue that we have to build into our financial game plan, because hopefully your money is going to be needed to last you a sustained period of time. And well, taking that into consideration, you're the big concern. Okay. Credit approving, we'll get into that a little bit later. Okay. To give it back to the first example, the power of rule of 72. This is just a rule of thumb that gives you a common sense knowledge or sense for what it takes to accumulate your money. If you take the number 72 and you divide it by 10%, that's 10% return on your money. Well, it's going to take you 7.2 years for your money to double. If you are on the other end of the very conservative spectrum and you get a 2% return, that's like money in the bank and GICs today, okay? It's going to take you 36 years for your money to double. So you have to take those time frames into consideration, and that's based on what the power of 72 will teach you. The other thing is, we go back to inflation. We talked about that. It's called real return. So the return you get on your money has to be measured against inflation. And the reason why I'm saying that is your buying power, that the ability to buy that loaf of bread or that car or buy the house is reduced by the inflation. So say you got a 3% return on your money. This is the example I have here. But inflation was 2.5%. Your buying power is 0.5%. Next year it goes down again and again. So your ability to buy, your purchasing power is reduced by whatever inflation is. In Canada today, inflation, the last report, it was about 2.6%. Okay. So it's going to reduce your ability to buy things by 2.5%. Okay. There's things going on in the economy today, not to get political, but that got to do with the various things are going in the United States. Okay. That's going to drive inflation up. It probably drive inflation or interest rates down in Canada. So you're going to get less on your GICs and pay more on inflation. So it becomes a very key component. So the whole idea when we're assessing your risk tolerance is, can you sleep at night? Okay. Or is it so high of a risk in terms of your investments that you can't sleep at night? It keeps you awake. So we have to find a happy medium that is your particular risk tolerance. We have tools that give us guidance on that, and then we have various distinct conversations and we are in the habit of, when things get more volatile as they are currently, and a client's risk tolerance is, at a certain level, we go back to the client and we'll say, look, we agree that your calculated risk tolerance is X, but I'm really thinking you should be down a little bit lower than that right now because things are a little bit too risky. Okay. So a thing to keep in mind. So these are all some of the tools that we can use in terms of concepts that take a very puzzling financial picture and turns it into something that's clear. Okay. Using the tools and a plan. So tools that you can use specifically on the investment front are RRSP, Registered Retirement Savings Plans. They are a tool that can be tax sheltered when you're putting the money into it, taxable when they come back out. But in terms of their growth, they grow on a tax shelter basis, and it creates a discipline for you saving money. Our RRFs are secondary to RRSPs, and that is when you hit 71, you have to put your RRSP money into a RRF. Okay, it's the same type of vehicle, except now the government says you have to take money out to live on.
Canada will play Scotland.
The
Uh,
TFSA is an interesting tool. It's a tax-free savings account, and it's to me is a cousin to the RRSPs. They weren't available many years ago when I started saving myself, but we maximize each year. I highly encourage people to do both the RRSP and the TFSA. Would you give an example? The TFSA will you don't get the tax deduction you get with an RRSP, but on the other hand, when you take the money out down the road, you don't pay tax on it. So there's other residual features to that as well. RESP bridge, education savings, and putting money aside, the government kicks in some money and helps you with it. And that's used for educational purposes for children or grandchildren. Okay. RDSP, Madison had talked about the RDSP. That's a byproduct of the disability tax credit. You have to have a disability tax credit approval before you can get into the RDSP. We can help you with the implementation of the RDSP. Disability tax credits are, from my perspective, they're a decent vehicle, but they're complicated. It does involve your family doctor, or a doctor, especially could be a specialist doctor, and it can be once approved, can go back up to 10 years if you can prove your impairment or disability meets that criteria. Going back that far, you don't necessarily have to be diagnosed with MS in this particular case, but you have to be able to, like Madison said, you have to confirm and have be medically confirmed that your restriction walking is one example has gone back for that time frame, up to 10 years. If you can do that, whatever time frame you can get prove back to will give you a tax credit refund of money that you paid in income tax that you shouldn't have had to pay. Okay, so it will give you a significant amount of it back. And we've got some clients that have gotten, well, in the extreme, we got a couple of clients that have like $100,000 back, but $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000, not uncommon at all. $15,000. So it's a very effective tool to generate money, and it gives you a tax credit, reducing your taxable income moving forward. Now, the other side is there's more non-registered funds and mortgages, mutual funds. Segregated funds are an interesting vehicle just for this crowd. Okay. Segregated funds are distinct from mutual funds. So mutual funds are available through banks, trust companies, okay, and security brokers. Segregated funds are through insurance companies. Now, the distinction here is that segregated funds offer a certain amount of guarantees. So, for instance, in today's volatile market, if you were invested into funds that went from $1,000 down to $400 or $500 because of whatever's happening in the world economy, and it declines, you had to access that money. That's what you get. You get that $400 or $500 of the $1,000 you put in. If you put it into a segregated funds offer you certain guarantees. You have two options. One is 75% of whatever you put in is guaranteed, no matter what the market says, or 100% of what you put in is guaranteed, no matter how much money you put in. So it's a significant tool in that standpoint. It also has death benefits. So if somebody passes away, the money is guaranteed to go to the beneficiaries at a certain dollar value. Okay, you can name the beneficiaries. You can bypass probate. So that means that the government, someone dies. Okay. If it's not bypassing probate, it means you pay the government a percentage of the money to offset, I guess, their basic costs. So what's happening is in Ontario, after the first $50,000, 1.5% goes to government. Okay, so someone inherits $1 million, which sounds big, but in today's marketplace of the house sales, it's not necessarily, so they end up with that bypasses that issue. Okay, and the money goes directly to the named beneficiaries. Also, for purposes of things like ODSP. Okay. ODSP has their governing rules. They tell you how much money you're going to get. So you're going to tell you what benefits you're going to cover. But let's just say mom and dad did have passed away and the house gets sold, and all of a sudden you are inheriting $200,000, $300,000. If you're on ODSP, you're out. The first thing they'll do is cut you off the benefit, and then you have to try and get reinstated. Well, good luck with that. My personal experience, my experience with clients is it takes months and months and months to get back on again. Okay, if they can. There are exemptions in ODSP for the in terms of assets. Madison had mentioned this $40,000 ruling that says you can have up to $40,000 in the bank, but if you got 40,001, you can lose your benefit. Which, if that benefit is drugs and subsidies in some form and income along the way, that's a significant issue. So we try and avoid any kind of problems with the inheritance. And a lot of people have come to us over the years, so we've managed to put the money into a segregated funds that is exempt from ODSP in terms of dollar amounts that you can get. Okay.
Up to 100,000.
Up to $100,000. Having said that, if you're getting more than $100,000 going into inheritance, there are other vehicles, trusts of some form, okay, that can be used to, but most often I find that we're seeing a lot of people that are getting in the range of just under $100,000. So if they get $40,000 that they can have plus $100,000, there's $140,000 that you can hide by, not yes, yeah, not. Thank you. Okay, so a very effective tool if applied properly. Okay. Keep on that one. So just to give you an idea of on the back of the TFSA for a moment. With the TFSA, you can put different things, different vehicles, different investments into a TFSA, and you can do the same thing with an RRSP. You can put GICs, term deposits. You can put stocks, bonds, mutual funds, segregated funds can all be in an RRSP or TFSA. And the reason why you would do that, they all get a different type of response. They all, if you got GICs, guaranteed money. The issue is it the guaranteed money today is like 2%, maybe 3%, in that range, depending on how long you want to tie your money up. So each vehicle has its own place. Okay, if you're going, this is called registered tax. Your savings accounts and RSPs are called registered. Going to run non-registered money, that's a different vehicle altogether in terms of tax treatment. Okay?
Oh, have you done your whites yet? Yes. Okay.
So the tax treatment is different on GICs and term deposits, and you can look at capital gains, dividends, interest, etc. So RDSPs, I just to enhance a little bit of what Madison was talking about. RDSPs are quite an interesting vehicle, in that you can get significance, accumulation. I kind of look at RDSPs as a personal pension plan. And in that, when you accumulate the money, you're accumulating the money, it comes out at age 60 and it starts paying it to you. So we're having a little technical difficulty.
I'm just gonna show you. How come it doesn't give it there?
It's usually it.
Oh,
It's okay.
The other thing that's nice about the RDSPs is you can, when you can do nothing in terms of except having it set up, and you'll get some kind of a government contribution to it. Secondly, if you can afford to put money into it, it's a very significant matching, more than matching, by the government in those programs, and you can utilize the RDSP as a supplement to your retirement money, and it'll start paying you at age 60. Okay. So choosing the right type of product, investment or otherwise, that is critical to you, protecting yourself and putting a something that protects you against the downside. Sorry. So speaking of downside, now we've talked so far about accumulation of money from different sources and that you can use. The other side of it is using a product like insurance. Be plural, but because insurance has all kinds of different products. They have products for long-term care. They have products for someone dies, or life insurance for disability. You have to kind of figure out what you want that insurance to do for you. One is to pay for final expenses. That's, the other is to reduce and pay off debts once it passes away. Offsetting estate liabilities. When someone dies, quite often there's a tax liability involved. Okay. Supplying income to a surviving family or spouse. That's very significant. I mean, you just like if you had a working partner and that working partner was the primary breadwinner or the sole breadwinner and they pass away, where's the money going to come from? Where are you going to, they may have had some kind of package where there's a carryover of a pension, perhaps. But quite often we'll find in our experience that remaining surviving partner is one short in terms of the money that they require. So we take a look at, we do a calculation and work with the client and try to figure out what it is they need to maintain, financially speaking. Children's, the intent was to pay for children's education. Well, if there's no money coming in, that's an issue. So you can build that into your game plan if that is a part of it. And then things like critical illness or disability has to do with producing an income in case of emergency or a major illness or sickness. And I guess finally is creating a legacy. If your intent is to pass on some kind of wealth accumulation to another party, the children, the grandchildren, whatever, then life insurance is probably the least expensive vehicle to do that. Now, having said that, and I've been doing this a number of times, I've got
Come on, sweetie, I'll feed you.
I've got clients that there's just no way they're going to accumulate the amount of money that they need, but they see the risk from a family standpoint. So they use life insurance. I'll call it as like an asset. Okay, so you build in, at age, likelihood of them living to age 78 is probably what it is. So age 78 in the game plan, we have a life insurance that pays out. $1,000, or $10,000, $200,000, $500, whatever it is to supplement the income for the surviving spouse. Okay, so it as an asset in that sense that when the person passes away, it's paid out, it's added to the assets they've accumulated, and they have a sustainable income. So it's an effective tool, but you have to work it properly into the game plan. One of the things that we came across quite often was with MS in particular, because we've been doing MS for about 15 years now. Is a lot of people saying, well, I can't get insured. Well, you can. I have tons of clients that we have been able to get insured. There's specialty insurance.
Oh, there's just
There's a thing
Yep.
called
There were both draws in there.
acceptance, which is
Correct.
a different type of insurance. But all said and done, what you need to know is there's something there that can be purchased with a person with MS. And the purpose, who's the spouse, the person who has MS, it's behooves them to have the finances put in place, the life insurance to carry their income stream. So it's an effective tool. There's different options, different ways of accumulating, different ways of handling insurance. I guess to wrap up the whole picture on putting a plan together is recognizing that it also has to include things like wills and power of attorneys, understanding a trust if there's a significant amount of money involved in terms of the family, how to handle things that with the RDSP and the revenue that comes from that. And so those are all part and parcel of the planning process. And I think, in my viewpoint anyways, to accomplish that, you need to put down some real numbers, have a real chat, figure out where you want to go and how you want to get there, and put together an actual written game plan and say, this is what I can do to get where I want to go. To have that's peace of mind that comes with knowing that everything's covered, you know. And I mean, I personally have been working at that since my diagnosis back in '95. It became an obsession, you know, so to make sure that I had a peace of mind that my family was covered. If anything happened to me, which was more likely, just because of the MS, you know. So other than that, I just want to give you a quick overview, give you an idea of the kind of tools that you can use and why you use them. And Nicole's going to hand out a little thing for those that are interested. But it's just this: what's your name, address, telephone number? Do you have an interest in any of the following things? And what we would do is contact you. The planning part, the guidance that is a no-cost thing for us. It's just something we've done for years like that. And so it's not an expense issue. It's just a matter of are you interested and can we help you with it? So, no, any other questions?
Sure.
Those two was quick.
I was just gonna mention, for people who are interested in the disability tax credit, I know it's a cumbersome process and a lot of doctors don't love filling it out, but there is a program. It's a company called Benefits 2, like the number 2. They run out of Burlington. I've worked with them before. They're amazing. You can do a $99 plan where they just or $49, I don't remember, but for $150, they completely fill out your form for the doctor so that they don't miss anything that could help your approval. And then you just take it to the doctor and the doctor's like, it's filled out, and they're super excited, and then they sign it. So, and their return on what's the word, getting approval is really high. So if you want to expedite the process, I highly suggest that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Benefits, and then the number 2.
I agree with enrolling someone like these people that document and assist me in completing forms. It's a. There was a lot of doctors objection to that process. And we found that writing a letter to the doctor saying, dear doctor, I think I qualify for the disability tax credit for the following reasons. And that, by the way, again, back to what was mentioned by Madison, it doesn't have to be just one restriction. It can be, cumulative. So you have 2 or 3 restrictions that affect you on your activities of daily living, but they document that fact so that when the letter is seen by the doctor, he goes, you're right, you do all those criteria. Once that's been approved, and we're glad to help you with the RDSP part of it, and implementing the personal pension plan, as I call it. But it's a thing that's available to you only if you qualify for the tax credit. Any questions? Yes.
Insurance. That's not tax free for the recipients, the beneficiaries, they don't have to claim it, right?
The life
Insurance?
insurance,
Those are life insurance.
the life insurance is a tax-free death benefit, correct?
For them?
Yes,
For the beneficiary, yes.
yes. You insure your life as an example.
So I insure myself.
For $100,000, your beneficiary is receiving $100,000 tax-free.
Tax free.
Claim it.
No.
No,
It can be handled properly. Insurance, which got a negative connotation to it, but it has,
I mean, it's a good, right, otherwise, branch, consider.
Yeah.
Because like probate, I worked with the estate a long time ago at CIBC, and I tell you, when you see that portfolio of a client, so beautiful, but Mr. Jackson, I think the big top of it, he's perfect, so. great.
well, the life insurance is an excellent tool used properly. And
Mhm.
again, that's part of the planning process is to look at your particular situation. Say the best thing you do is the insurance because it's to your advantage for the following reasons. Yes. What did I? Yeah. You can open it up to age 49 and start the process. You can make a contribution up to age 59. Okay. But at age 60, the money starts coming back out again.
You can get the government money.
Yes, sir. You can
Because I was just. It was only at the benefit of the 1 year government grant with that,
right.
but nobody. So,
Yes, but he's right in the government's portion would so it may or may not be. But
now what about taking?
yeah, see, so you have to take it in 10 years to be. If you take it up beforehand, you lose a lot. Most of what the government's contributing to.
Will we be in a mutual fund? So
What's that?
I think you are, yeah, but we can get back to you on that for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Any other questions? We had a. Yeah, I'm gonna shut it down.
you just asked if you can.
Oh, okay.
To that way, yeah.
I just
I just want to thank Bob and Nicole Vaughn for their time today. Every time I hear their information, I'm learning something new all the time. So let's give them a round of applause for sharing their day. Nicole is going to pass around the application forms if you're interested in pursuing